Zach is back. It's the Zach Gelb Show on Fox Sports 920 The Jersey.
Welcome back in. Wrapping up the show, 5:37 here until 6 on the Zach Gelb Show, Fox Sports 920 The Jersey. We were able to connect with Pete Weber, the play-by-play voice of the Nashville Predators. The Nashville Predators, of course, going to the Stanley Cup Final with their victory in the Western Conference Final over Anaheim, and now they'll await the winner with the Game 7 tonight between Ottawa and Pittsburgh. And now joining us is the play-by-play voice himself of the Nashville Predators, and that, of course, is Pete Weber. Pete, congratulations. Appreciate a few minutes. Thanks for the time, and how are you?
Well, for some reason, I'm falling asleep a lot this afternoon. My apologies for all of that.
No problem. Happens to the best of us. We know the playoffs are a lot of long times and long days, and, hey, you deserve that sleep, and you're just waiting to see who you're going to get in the Stanley Cup Final. Take me through, though, that atmosphere in Nashville. We see the catfish getting thrown on the ice. You even had the skin duck, and now your team's going to the Stanley Cup Final. So what's the atmosphere been like?
It's been absolutely fantastic. Number one, of course, I think you've all been able to tell. It's been quite loud.
Yes.
If nothing else. The Guinness Book of World Records people are coming in for Game 3 of the final because they want to see if the building truly does reach the levels for the indoor sound record, because they've been pushing toward 130 dB throughout these playoffs, particularly the latter portion of it. And that is pretty much the demarcation point. So if you want to try to imagine what 130 dB is, effectively, go in your backyard and start up a 747 jet engine and stand within about 10 feet of it, and that's what we're talking about here.
How tough is it to communicate with your broadcast partner during the games when that building gets that loud?
Thankfully, wearing the headphones helps a great deal. We also have to use a lot of hand signals, but it does work out. A few years ago, Terry Crisp and I were doing our opening stand-up before a telecast from a playoff series in San Jose. And the only thing we could do, even with earpieces in, was wait till the other guy's jaw stopped moving to talk ourselves. So that can be a bit of a problem. But thankfully on radio here and with the headsets on and the ability to jack up the headphone amplifier, we can get that solved.
Pete, this has been a team in Nashville. We all know they have a great coach in Peter Laviolette, and they have some great players, but they were an 8th seed going up against Chicago in the first round. I saw a few people actually pick Nashville to get to the Stanley Cup Final, but that, of course, when you're an 8th seed, is not a popular pick. How surprised are you with what they've been able to do so far?
From the Chicago series onward, it's been one pleasant surprise following another. This is very much mirroring, and I hope it's a total mirror job, if you will, what the LA Kings did in 2012.
Sure.
When they were an 8th seed and just barely made the playoffs in the final day of the season, their final game, and then go on to win the Stanley Cup and take 3 games to none series lead in all 4 series. Now, Predators aren't going to be able to approach that, but they do have the potential of winning the Cup in as few games as Los Angeles did, and that's going to be asking a large order to be filled. But they did that going 16-4 to win the Cup that year. So they would have to, in other words, the Preds would have to sweep whomever they face. And after tonight's game, the only thing we're rooting for here is a triple or a quadruple overtime.
Right?
The Penguins and the Senators.
Hey, we don't like the Pittsburgh Penguins here in New Jersey because we have a lot of fans in New York and also Philadelphia. Right. We hope it goes 7 overtimes and the Penguins go home very much unhappy, as we're talking to Pete Weber right now, the play-by-play voice of the Nashville Predators. Let's get to Peter Laviolette because we have Islander fans that listen to us. We have Flyers fans that listen to us as well, and they know how good of a head coach he is. You've seen him now for 3 years with the Predators. How impressed have you been with the coaching job of Peter Laviolette? Take us through what makes him such a good head coach.
He's a salesman, so he sells his players his message, and he sells it thoroughly. They truly absorb what it is he wants them to do, and that is to be in the moment as much as they can, totally concentrate on the immediate task at hand, and play in a certain style that allows them to have a chance to win. And they've done that virtually to perfection throughout these playoffs. I mean, when you knock off the Chicago Blackhawks in 4 games, and that had never been done before by an 8th seed, knocking off a number 1 in a sweep, that is absolute perfect depiction of what he does And then, and Chicago was the one that looked like they should have been the underdog as that series unfolded. Same with St. Louis. Same with Anaheim. I mean, the guys feel, and I'm sure you guys are quite familiar with one of the players of this team, Harry Zolnarchuk, who was on that Flyers team that went to the final in 2010. He feels that, and he says all the guys in the room feel, if they just listen to what the coach says and execute what he wants, they feel they've got a great chance to win.
You get a different perspective being the play-by-play voice of Nashville. With Peter Laviolette, where was his confidence going into the postseason with this group?
I don't think he could have sold them on what they could do unless he had confidence in them. And this is even down to the point of next man up, okay? Ryan Johansson gets injured out for the remainder of the playoffs after Game 4, or actually during Game 4 of the Anaheim series for the Western Conference Final. He knew he had somebody he could plug in there, Colton Sissons. Colton Sissons finishes off the series with a hat trick on Monday night. Colton Sissons is not a household name, maybe not even in his own house, but he was able to come up with the effort needed and the production needed to turn that game around. Predators had a 2-goal lead twice, and as is their want, the Ducks came back to tie it up, but then Sissons pretty much finished things off with his third goal, and bringing in guys like Pontus Aberg. He had confidence in him in training camp, but there wasn't room for him here at that point. Then Aberg goes down and is a 30-goal scorer in less than 60 games with the Milwaukee team in the American League, and brings him up when need be, when the roster was taking the heavy hits that it did. And then he scored the game winner in Game 5 in Anaheim. So he is confident no matter who he plugs in there. Now, he has to be careful where he plugs them in, but he's confident that they can get the job done.
How much did the past experience of in his first year losing in the first round, then in his second year losing in the second round, how much did that experience and what this team has been through? I know it's been some changes, of course, with the trade of PK Subban, but how much has that experience helped?
It's helped a great deal, but those trades, you can't sneeze at those. I mean, not just the Weber for Subban, but how about when you get right down to it, the Seth Jones for Ryan Johansson deal? Ryan Johansson gave him and the Predators, midway through the previous season, a chance to have a true, physically large enough man to be the number one center playing this team, and of course he has great skill as well. That played a huge role in it. But I do believe in incremental improvement in hockey. We saw that with the great Islanders teams getting through the late 70s and then winning the 4 straight cups from 80 to 83. They needed to take steps along the way. And whether or not it was winning one playoff series the first year to the next or not, it does look that way, doesn't it?
Pete Weber with us right now on the Zach Gelb Show, wrapping up with the voice of the Nashville Predators on Fox Sports 920, the Jersey. Let's get to the goalie, Pekka Rinne. He's been there forever. To see him go to the Stanley Cup, just how about that and the type of person he is, since you get to interact with him a lot more than we do?
It's great to see him have this sort of success. But he has had it before, but didn't, let's say, have a team around him that could help raise to this height that he has achieved here. He is still as soft-spoken and as an unassuming person as you could possibly imagine. And here he is, the best goals against, the best saves percentage in these playoffs for the entirety of the National Hockey League. And here's a guy that couldn't start for his own club team in Finland. Our assistant general manager, Ray Shero, went over to look at him before the draft, and all they could see him was in the pregame skate, because the guy starting in front of him was a man who went on to be the longtime number one goaltender for the Minnesota Wild, Nick Backstrom. And that was kind of fascinating. So on the basis of the reports of Jani Kekalainen, one of the Predators' European scouts, and one pregame warm-up skate and warm-up round, Pekka Rinne was drafted in a round that no longer exists by the Predators and was nurtured very carefully, came along, and has now become the team's all-time great goaltender.
What happened with this team in the regular season? Yes, we know they made the playoffs, clearly being in the Stanley Cup final right now. But an 8th seed, and now they're in the Stanley Cup final. I know it happens in hockey, but it's not something that happens every year. So what happened with this team in the regular season that they weren't better than an 8th seed?
Well, the interesting thing was the expectations were that they were going to be in this spot. But that trade, 3 retirements, Barrett Jackman, Paul Gostad, and Eric Nystrom, all veterans who turned in their skates at the end of last season's playoffs. Well, they played very critical leadership-type roles within the room. Then the trade for P.K. Subban, and he came here, and he wasn't healthy at the outset. He really didn't get healthy until January. So it was a roller coaster ride for the first 3-4 months of the year. And now I think we're seeing how real those expectations were for the team going in. But they had to get chemistry going again. I mentioned the 3 veterans that retired, the trade of the team captain, Shea Weber, and then also to sort out where PK fit in best on this defense core. Initially, they just thought of a one-for-one swap, as was the trade, that maybe he would play with Roman Josi. Well, they saw that didn't work as well, so they split up another pair, and Roman Josi now skates with Ryan Ellis, and it's been a marvelous pair, a great shutdown pair of P.K. Subban with Matthias Ekholm. But that took time to work out.
I never got a chance to meet P.K. Subban, but even though I grew up as a Ranger fan, still am a Ranger fan, so I got to see him play against the Rangers in that Eastern Conference Final a few years ago. And, hey, he's a pain in the butt to play against, but off the ice and even on the ice, he's a tremendous player, but off the ice, even a better person. Just give me a little bit about the P.K. Subban that you know, because to me, he's always one of those guys when I'm looking for a hockey player and what a hockey players you represent, I think of P.K. Subban right away.
Well, that's a good one. And I'll tell you, what he did, first of all, the huge contribution to Children's Hospital in Montreal. He effectively has matched here in Nashville as well. The man loves life, absolutely loves every minute of it. Well, Terry Crisp and myself, the longtime broadcast team here, have taken him to a few banquets. And this guy, the life of the party, and he truly enjoys having fun poked at him. For example, we were at one gathering in October, so very early in his tenure here, and it just so happened that one of the honorees that night was the former Olympic gold medalist, the figure skater Scott Hamilton, who lives here in Nashville and has for about 10 years. And Scott got up on the dais, and he goes, this is a different situation for me tonight. Usually, I'm the only Olympic gold medal winner in the room. Then he turns an eye toward PK. PK begins to crack up a little bit. Then he goes, and also without question, I'm the best skater in the room. Then he looks at PK again. And so that's the sort of good time that PK really enjoys.
Pete, who do you like tonight?
I like the game to go 18 overtimes and have us even take off Saturday, not know where we're going. Hopefully
you'll be able to stay up for it, though, Pete. Come on.
I'll be able to. Boy, I got my nap. Pete. I'm ready now. It's just like I was with that, Penguins Flyers 5 overtime thing. 18 years ago now? 17 years ago.
A long time ago. But give me a thought, though, today in the game, because you have a team in Ottawa that many people are saying a team of destiny, and they're going off the story of Anderson, who was sensational in that Game 6, and then you have Pittsburgh. We all know they have the experience. So give me a thought tonight about this Game 7.
They have the experience. Pittsburgh's got a worry about their defense core depth. They are really down on it there, and I'm sure they're ecstatic now that they made that late deal to get Ron Hainsey from Carolina to help fill in there. And I'm wondering, is there ever going to be a healthy season for Chris Letang for the Penguins? But here's still the fact of the matter. The Penguins can score. They have depth in scoring. So what the Senators really have to hope for tonight is that their perfect game unfolds, and that is for them to score one goal early and then just hold on and try and repel the siege of the fort.
Well, Pete, good luck. Enjoy it. Should be a whole lot of fun. And we're rooting for Nashville, especially if Pittsburgh does punch through tonight. Thanks, Pete.
Okay, thank you, guys. Take care, and good morning to you all.
You got it. Hey, just make sure that alarm works when you get ready for Game 1. You can't sleep through Game 1. You know that.
Well, I've done it before.
Have you really? Give us a story on that.
No, No.
I was going to say, all right, Pete, thank you so much. There's Pete Weber joining us on the Zach Gelb Show, Fox Sports 920 The Jersey. You never know. Sometimes announcers, they fall asleep on air. I've never done that, but we've seen announcers do it before, broadcasters do it before, and maybe Pete may have slept through a game once in a while, and they're wondering, hey, where the heck is Pete? They're wondering possibly where he is. But great job by Pete Weber. We do appreciate him hopping on board with us for a few seconds after he was getting a little bit of a nap in there. And I'll tell you, he sounded great for someone that just woke up from a nap. Because if I woke up from a nap, the voice would be all scratchy, and I'd be like, hey, what's up? It's Zach. I'm just talking. I just woke up from a nap. I had the blanket over my head, but hey, there you go. Okay, tonight,